Hello everyone, my name is Uthris and welcome back to Men at War, Squad 2. We are continuing work here on our wonderful little, European village here for a custom map so that people will be able to use it for their own custom scenarios and missions once it is released. And I know I said this last episode, but we're going to try and finish it today. It's a lot of terrain work, a lot of kind of rolling hills, setting up these kind of, I guess you could say fallow fields or areas where there's just kind of overgrown shrubs and things kind of in a grid pattern that's kind of following with the natural landscape of things. So hopefully that'll look pretty cool for you guys. And then I guess eventually technically we have to finish the last bit of town. And really that is it as far as I know. Maybe we'll do some interesting stuff down here as well. Maybe try and tier these fields up, as it's just this big flat area, and I'm a big fan. Anyways, so we're just pretty much gonna hop straight into another speed build section. We'll see how far we get, and I'll talk to you guys kind of at the end. Okay, everyone. So there was a time lapse in there, and then a pretty major skip. Um, I don't want to try and condense the time down too much, as it can just look kind of sickening or too quick, and so you might get just annoyed at watching it. It's not really good on your eyes. And so what I did was I basically recorded a good bit of this lower left area, and then part of the windmill, and then everything on the lower right is new that you guys haven't seen at all yet. I'm pulled away so that you guys can kind of see how big the map is in general and kind of get a macro scale on kind of the progress and how everything looks. Now, as we zoom in, of course, the detail kind of pops in, and the game will naturally probably only let you zoom in to, or zoom out to about here. So the pop in, not that big of an issue when you're actually playing. So let's go ahead and go over some of this area. Just some rolling hills with some clay kind of faces on them with some rocks and trees, shrubs, things like that. A little bit of a dirt kind of man-made addition here for a dirt road for access. This was, I guess, an old dried up riverbed, and so it wasn't really in use anymore. Maybe they dammed up the river up ahead, and so therefore no water comes here anymore. Added this, which you guys didn't see on camera. I wanted something here and something a little bit more unique to kind of match the windmill on the opposite side. So this is kind of an old burned out barn, little farmhouse thing that's been just completely overrun with nature, and so it looks pretty cool. It's just one of those things that maybe if you're walking along in the woods, this is something that you'd come across. I'm sure some of you have done that before. I know I have come across kind of an old decrepit building out in the middle of nowhere, or what I thought was the middle of nowhere, and so that was pretty fun to build there. Just more rock outcrops, everything just kind of lining the roads nicely. And then we go across the street, and this is kind of the windmill area. It's kind of an old windmill, and so basically what I wanted to do is make it into more of like a plaza rather than a fully functional industrial side, which looks pretty cool. There's some chairs, plenty of stuff to maybe get a scenic view once all that back there is done, and hopefully that'll look very nice. A little bit of a barn out here. Maybe on the weekends they might run the windmill just to show people how it works, things like that. It's done well. And then we go to the big section that I have been working on. This is the rolling hills on the bottom right, which looks great. Very similar to the other side, just a little bit more plain in terms of how they're laid out here, and a little bit shorter in height. So they're not quite as tall. Up here, we have kind of a farmhouse with their barns and things like that. This is kind of where the main farmer lives and works. He's got his own little greenhouse, which looks good. He's got a nice thatched kind of roof barn, which is nice. Added this little addition here just for the parked kind of caravans as he goes through and finishes up his harvest and just tills the land and turnovers the land and things like that. I tried to make these look as if a couple fields are already harvested and then the other ones are in the process of being harvested and bagged up and things like that. Basically, this is my first time trying to do something like this, so it might look a little weird, but overall I'm pretty pleased with it. It's definitely a nice kind of flat area to contrast the kind of rolling hills everywhere else. So this is a little bit of a valley, if you believe it or not. The town is in fact higher elevated than this, so that's pretty cool. And I think that's it. There's a bunch of little details and stuff that I'm kind of skimming over, but you guys can see some tractors and things like that. But I think that's going to do us for this episode. This was many hours, and as always I say, hey, I want to finish this tonight, and it takes way longer than I wanted. It's just kind of the nature of the beast when you're kind of working on a map like this. It's just a major project, so 1 to 2 more episodes left. If I can get a quarter of the map done each time, that would be good for me. Also, I was testing the tank here. Make sure you cross that little bridge. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you all enjoyed the video, feel free to subscribe to my channel for more creative goodness. Go ahead and hit that like button. Leave a comment down below what you guys think, and I will see you all next time.